You wake up and nothing is wrong. The room is quiet and the world feels still, yet your body already feels tight. Your shoulders carry weight before the day begins. There is no danger, no emergency, no clear reason for stress. Still, your mind searches for something missing. You check how you feel instead of enjoying the calm. Somewhere inside, your system prepares for impact that never comes. This tension feels automatic, familiar, almost normal. And slowly you begin wondering why peace feels uncomfortable even when life finally slows down around you. You try to relax, but your thoughts continue moving. Rest feels unnatural, like stopping something important. Even during free time, your mind scans for unfinished problems. Silence creates discomfort instead of relief. Happiness feels temporary, as if something could interrupt it at any moment. Your brain keeps searching for danger long before it exists. You cannot explain why calm feels unsafe. Others seem relaxed while you remain alert. This quiet tension follows you everywhere, turning ordinary moments into preparation zones where nothing actually happens but your body refuses to stand down completely. Your brain has one primary responsibility, and it is not happiness. Its purpose is survival. Long ago it learned that readiness prevents pain. When stress repeated itself, your nervous system adjusted automatically. It increased sensitivity to protect you faster next time. Now even small uncertainty activates warning signals. The alarm continues ringing because it once detected real danger. Your system remembers patterns more than timelines. Logic says everything is fine, but biology follows history. The brain chooses protection over comfort every single time, even when the environment has already changed around you. You notice it in small habits. You reread conversations searching for hidden meaning. A delayed reply feels heavier than it should. You prepare explanations before anyone asks questions. Your mind predicts problems so you will not be surprised later. Even when things go well, relief lasts only briefly before anticipation returns. These reactions feel personal, like personality traits, but they are learned responses. Your brain practices prevention constantly. It believes preparation equals safety. And without realizing it, you begin living slightly ahead of reality instead of inside the present moment itself. Stress does not end when circumstances improve. It ends when the nervous system believes improvement is real. Your brain learns through repetition, not reasoning. Positive thoughts alone cannot update survival learning. The body waits for evidence gathered over time. If chaos lasted long enough, calm feels temporary. Your system expects instability because instability once defined reality. Even safety feels uncertain because it lacks history. The brain asks quietly whether peace can be trusted. Until enough calm moments repeat themselves, survival mode continues running old instructions written during harder seasons of life. From the outside you appear functional. You complete tasks and hold conversations normally. People assume you are fine because nothing obvious looks wrong. Inside, however, a quiet alert signal continues running. It is not panic but constant readiness. Like background noise that never fully disappears. This tension becomes so familiar that you stop noticing it consciously. Eventually you describe yourself as anxious rather than recognizing adaptation. Identity replaces context. You forget that your reactions were shaped by experiences. And slowly the story changes from something you survived into something you believe you are. Your brain does not measure time using calendars or memories. It measures patterns. When stress repeats often enough, the nervous system assumes repetition will continue. This process is threat calibration. Sensitivity increases to detect danger faster. Once adjusted, the system rarely resets quickly. Like a control room trained during emergencies, it keeps monitoring long after the crisis ends. Your body continues preparing because preparation once worked. The brain prefers false alarms over missed threats. From a survival perspective, unnecessary tension is safer than unexpected harm, so vigilance becomes the default operating mode. Even when your life slows down, old survival patterns continue moving behind you. The brain remembers emotional environments more strongly than events themselves. Long periods of uncertainty trained your system to remain ready. Calm now feels unfamiliar because it lacks repetition. Your nervous system still follows earlier rules designed for protection. You may logically understand that things improved, yet your body reacts as if danger remains nearby. This mismatch creates confusion. You feel safe intellectually but tense physically, as though two versions of time exist simultaneously inside your experience. When uncertainty lasts long enough, waiting becomes associated with vigilance. Your brain learns that calm moments may precede problems. Patience transforms into monitoring. The nervous system stays prepared during silence because silence once meant unpredictability. Over time, tension becomes normal background experience. Relaxation feels unfamiliar, almost suspicious. The brain asks whether something important is being overlooked. This reaction is not weakness but conditioning. Your system learned to survive extended ambiguity, and now it continues applying those lessons even when life no longer demands the same level of readiness. Relaxation can feel uncomfortable because stillness increases awareness. When activity stops, old signals become noticeable again. Your brain interprets reduced motion as vulnerability rather than rest. Evolution taught humans to stay alert when exposed. So tension returns automatically, preparing you before threats appear. The nervous system does not intend to disturb peace. It tries to prevent surprise danger. This explains why calm moments sometimes trigger restlessness instead of relief. Your body remains loyal to past lessons, maintaining readiness even when present reality quietly offers safety and stability. Your nervous system does not instantly recognize safety. Protection that once helped you survive becomes difficult to release. The brain prefers familiar discomfort over unfamiliar calm because familiarity predicts outcomes. Even when danger disappears, protective habits remain active. You hesitate to fully relax because part of you expects consequences. This hesitation is not weakness. It is memory operating through biology. The body holds onto patterns longer than circumstances last. Until safety repeats consistently, your system keeps its defenses partially active, waiting for confirmation that peace is not temporary but stable enough to trust. Change inside the nervous system rarely feels dramatic. Instead, it resembles a slow adjustment of internal volume. Alerts become quieter rather than disappearing completely. Your brain learns gradually through repeated safe outcomes. Each calm experience slightly reduces threat sensitivity. Nothing exciting happens in these moments, which is why progress often goes unnoticed. The absence of crisis becomes the lesson itself. Over time, your system stops reacting as strongly because predictions begin updating. Safety is learned through repetition, not realization. Quiet consistency reshapes biology far more effectively than sudden insight or motivation ever could. Survival mode built protective armor around your behavior. Hyper-awareness, emotional control, and constant preparation once served a purpose. Letting go of these defenses feels risky because they helped you endure difficulty. The brain interprets removing protection as exposure. Yet healing requires gradual release rather than sudden change. You do not abandon safety, you update it. Piece by piece, the nervous system learns that protection can soften without inviting harm. This process feels unfamiliar because identity formed around endurance. Learning safety means discovering who you are when survival is no longer your primary role. What you call damage may actually be adaptation. The brain reshaped itself to help you navigate uncertainty. Emotional caution, anticipation, and vigilance were intelligent responses to real conditions. When you reinterpret these patterns as protection rather than failure, self-judgment begins to soften. Psychology shows that behaviors developed under stress aim to maintain stability. Understanding this changes your relationship with yourself. Instead of fighting your reactions, you begin understanding their origin. Compassion becomes possible because your nervous system was never working against you. It was solving problems using the only information available at the time. Neuroplasticity allows the brain to change throughout life. Every repeated experience strengthens certain neural pathways while weakening others. Safety must be practiced long enough to form new expectations. Like roots growing underground, changes occur invisibly before becoming noticeable. You may feel unchanged while transformation quietly unfolds beneath awareness. The nervous system updates predictions slowly because survival depends on accuracy. It requires consistent proof before lowering defenses. This patience protects you but also slows healing. Understanding this timeline reduces frustration. Progress is happening even when emotional shifts feel almost too small to recognize immediately. Stillness teaches the nervous system a new lesson. When you intentionally pause without distraction, your brain expects danger at first. Tension may rise because inactivity once meant vulnerability. Staying present during calm moments provides corrective experience. Nothing harmful happens while you rest. Over time, the amygdala updates its predictions. Quiet becomes associated with safety rather than exposure. This practice feels simple but carries deep neurological impact. Each peaceful pause rewrites old associations between rest and risk, gradually allowing relaxation to exist without triggering automatic preparation or internal resistance. Completion signals safety to the brain. Unfinished tasks keep attention partially activated because uncertainty remains unresolved. When you consciously finish small actions and notice their ending, the nervous system registers closure. Dopamine reinforces predictability and control, calming threat monitoring systems. Even simple routines become powerful signals when experienced intentionally. Your brain learns that cycles can end peacefully. This reduces background vigilance over time. Survival mode thrives on unfinished loops, but completion teaches stability. By noticing endings, you provide evidence that situations resolve safely rather than continuing indefinitely without resolution. Uncertainty feels threatening because the brain evolved to predict outcomes. Allowing small unknowns without immediate correction challenges this instinct safely. When nothing harmful follows uncertainty, prediction circuits weaken their alarm response. Gradually, tolerance grows. You learn that unanswered questions do not always lead to danger. This retraining must happen through experience rather than logic. Each tolerated unknown becomes new data for the nervous system. Over time, anticipation loses intensity because the brain gathers evidence that uncertainty can coexist with safety instead of signaling imminent problems or emotional disruption. Human nervous systems regulate each other through connection. Calm interaction activates neural pathways linked to safety and belonging. Even brief positive exchanges signal that the environment is supportive rather than threatening. The ventral vagal system responds to facial expressions, tone, and presence more than words. Small moments of connection reduce defensive activation naturally. You do not need deep conversations for this effect. Simple shared calmness teaches the brain that others are not dangers to manage but sources of regulation. Safety becomes something experienced together instead of something achieved alone. Eventually, change appears quietly. You notice fewer automatic reactions and more space between thoughts. Calm moments no longer feel suspicious. Your body stops preparing for problems that never arrive. This shift happens gradually, often unnoticed at first. Survival mode softens as new experiences accumulate. You realize nothing dramatic changed externally. Instead, your nervous system updated internally. Peace begins feeling ordinary rather than temporary. The absence of constant tension becomes the signal itself. Healing does not arrive as excitement but as neutrality, a gentle sense that life no longer requires continuous defense. At some point, the alarms begin to quiet. Not because you force them away, but because your brain collected enough safe experiences to reconsider its predictions. The nervous system constantly updates based on evidence. When nothing harmful follows calm moments repeatedly, alert signals lose urgency. This process feels subtle, almost invisible. You may only notice it afterward, realizing situations that once triggered tension now pass quietly. Safety becomes less of an effort and more of a background state. The brain learns that constant monitoring is no longer required to keep you protected. As survival mode fades, identity begins changing. You may feel unfamiliar with your own calmness. Without constant tension, parts of your personality emerge that were previously hidden. Curiosity replaces vigilance. Choices feel less urgent and more intentional. This transition can feel strange because struggle once defined how you understood yourself. The brain adjusts not only behavior but self-perception. You begin recognizing that anxiety was never your personality. It was a temporary adaptation. Slowly, you meet versions of yourself that existed quietly beneath protection, waiting for enough safety to appear. Healing rarely happens through sudden breakthroughs. Instead, tension unwinds slowly like a knot loosening strand by strand. Each safe interaction, Each calm moment gently reshapes expectations. The nervous system does not erase memories, it changes their influence. Old experiences remain but stop controlling present reactions. Emotional flexibility increases because the brain no longer predicts danger automatically. Progress appears gradual yet powerful. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable without effort. Over time, resilience replaces vigilance, allowing responses to match reality rather than past conditions that no longer define your environment. You begin noticing how heavy constant readiness once felt. Only after releasing it do you understand the effort required to carry survival mode daily. The brain conserves energy when threats decrease, allowing attention to expand beyond protection. Creativity, curiosity, and playfulness return naturally. These qualities were never lost, they were temporarily suppressed to prioritize safety. As tension decreases, mental resources become available again. Life feels less like endurance and more like participation. This shift reveals how much energy survival required and how much becomes possible once vigilance softens. Emotions begin moving differently when survival mode relaxes. Instead of overwhelming waves, feelings rise and fall naturally. The nervous system allows experiences to pass without excessive resistance. Emotional regulation does not mean feeling less, it means recovering faster. The brain learns that emotions are temporary signals rather than threats needing control. This understanding emerges through experience, not instruction. You notice sadness, stress, or excitement without immediate alarm. Feelings become information instead of emergencies. Stability grows when emotions are allowed to flow rather than constantly managed for safety. Decision-making changes when fear no longer dominates attention. The prefrontal cortex engages more fully once threat signals decrease. Choices become thoughtful rather than reactive. You begin trusting your judgment because urgency fades. Survival mode narrows focus to immediate protection, but safety expands perspective. Future planning becomes easier because the brain no longer assumes instability. Confidence grows quietly through repeated successful decisions made without panic. You realize clarity was always possible. It simply required a nervous system calm enough to evaluate options instead of constantly preparing for potential danger. Chronic vigilance consumes mental energy. When survival mode softens, fatigue begins lifting gradually. Rest becomes restorative rather than temporary relief. The brain reallocates energy previously used for monitoring threats. Attention improves, memory stabilizes, and motivation returns naturally. This renewed energy does not come from forcing productivity but from reduced internal strain. You feel capable again without pushing yourself excessively. Recovery reveals how exhaustion was linked to constant alertness rather than personal weakness. Energy increases simply because the nervous system no longer spends resources preparing for dangers that never arrive. Moving forward does not require forgetting the past. Integration happens when memories stop controlling present reactions. The brain stores experiences differently once safety increases. Instead of activating survival responses, memories become narratives you can observe calmly. Closure emerges internally rather than through external resolution. You recognize that past environments shaped you but no longer define current reality. This shift allows emotional distance without denial. The nervous system learns that remembering is safe, freeing attention to engage with the present rather than constantly revisiting old protective patterns. Freedom often feels quiet rather than dramatic. Without constant tension, ordinary moments feel spacious. You notice details previously missed because attention is no longer consumed by monitoring risk. Conversations feel lighter. Time moves differently. The brain shifts from defense toward exploration, activating curiosity networks associated with learning and creativity. This openness signals nervous system balance. Safety allows engagement instead of avoidance. Life becomes less about preventing harm and more about experiencing possibilities. The absence of fear-driven urgency creates room for presence, connection, and genuine enjoyment of simple experiences. Healing does not eliminate caution. Instead, balance replaces extremes. The nervous system learns when alertness is necessary and when relaxation is appropriate. Flexibility becomes the new strength. You respond to real challenges without remaining trapped in preparation afterward. This adaptability reflects healthy regulation rather than permanent calm. The brain integrates survival intelligence with present awareness. Protection remains available but no longer dominates experience. Balance allows responsiveness without exhaustion, creating stability that supports growth while maintaining the ability to respond effectively when genuine challenges arise. You may eventually realize nothing outside changed dramatically. The transformation happened internally through repeated safe experiences. Survival mode ended not because life became perfect, but because your brain learned it no longer needed constant defense. Calm becomes familiar enough to trust. The nervous system recognizes stability and allows presence to deepen. This shift feels less like achievement and more like returning home to yourself. Safety becomes a lived experience rather than an idea you are trying to believe or force into existence. You were never broken. Your brain simply continued protecting you longer than necessary. Survival mode was evidence of intelligence, not failure. Now, as safety becomes familiar, your system learns to rest without fear. The tension that once defined your days softens into quiet awareness. Healing is not becoming someone new but allowing protection to step aside when it is no longer needed. And in that gentle space, you finally experience what your nervous system was always trying to reach, a life where being safe no longer requires constant effort.